Welcome to, what is this, session 4 of Nuts and Bolts. Let me give you a little overview of how we got here tonight and what tonight's going to look like. When we started off, I did an intro to throw out all the things you need to think about when you're starting a new venture, and then Bob came in and started with the fundamental thing, which is Bob Jones came in and said, you know, if you don't have a customer, you don't have a business. Duh. Good one, Bob. And then we followed up with Rich Kibble with business models. The idea there is if you can create value for a customer, can you capture enough of it to make the thing sustainable? Let's see, what did we have after Rich? We had the panel on people issues, which you probably don't understand that was put together at the last moment because of inability, a problem that one of the presenters had, but I thought it turned out quite well. And then the last time we were together here, we had, I did the second part, which was the legal stuff, and the first part of the evening was the founder's journey with Ken Zolot. So that's all sort of getting the act together. Next sessions after this, we'll get into more financial matters. But I think we said at the beginning, entrepreneurs are always selling. You're always presenting. You're always trying to convince people, and that's what Bob Jones is back tonight to talk about that. And the first part, he'll do the first part. We'll do the half-hour breakout rooms, and then we'll have the second part of the evenings around negotiation. But before we get to Bob, I'd like to ask Claire, are you doing this? Claire is one of the co-managing directors along with other two TAs of the 100K competition. And this is a good time for her to tell you a little bit about the competition. So take it away.
Thanks, Joe. Hi, everyone. I wanted to give a quick plug for the 100K entrepreneurship competition. We run 3 contests every year, starting with Pitch, which happened back in November, Accelerate in the winter, and Launch in the spring. Our next competition will be Accelerate, which culminates in a live showcase happening on March 11th. The top 20 finalists will each be given a budget of $1,000 to spend on marketing and business development. The top 10 finalists will get to participate in the Accelerate showcase happening on March 11th and compete for the $10,000 Audience Choice Award. The top 3 teams will automatically advance to Launch semifinals. Launch happens in May, and the grand prize is $100,000. Each year across the 3 competitions, we give out $300,000 or so in non-dilutive funding. So if you're a founder or startup who wants to pitch your idea, please do apply by February 7th. Or if you want to get involved in the 100K on the planning side of things, you can also apply to join the organizing committee. That application is open through February 1st. Thank you.
Okay. And, this whole class sort of got started to support what was then the 5K or 10K competition. So it's good. All right. Well, I don't think I need to introduce Bob. I did it first night. He has been so great to do these things, and he's a great guy to put together presentations. So take it away, Bob.
Thanks, Joe. I'll mail you the $1 I promised you for that stirring introduction.
Oh, I thought it was $1.50. Go ahead.
Oh, man. So good evening, everybody, or good morning if you're on the other side of the world. Thanks for coming back to this. It's good to see so many of you on all of this. Tonight's going to be probably a bit more participatory than what we've had in the past, because this is about presenting. And I'm going to be asking you guys to come forward, virtually anyway, and actually talk rather a lot through the course of the next 80 or 90 minutes. And some people find that daunting, but it's a real opportunity, because even if you do a complete face plant, you're not risking losing a venture deal or blowing off a customer or anything like that. It's a great opportunity to actually practice this stuff and get some qualified feedback. So I encourage you to participate when the opportunity pops up. I think you will find it possibly terrifying, but valuable. But first, I want to ask kind of a blunt question, which is, why are we talking about this? And by the way, those of you who've been blessed with corporate employment and sat in those endless meetings, you may have found yourself asking this question on more than a few occasions. But this agenda that Joe just ran down, you're talking about, should you incorporate as a C Corp or an S Corp or an LLC, and how to use spreadsheets to do your financial forecasting. And there's a lot of pretty gritty, substantive stuff. This topic seems kind of fluffy. So why are we doing it? Why is it important? And say that at the moment you're not very good at this, and 90 minutes from now some magic occurs and you're really good at it. Well, so what? And I have some ideas about this, but as promised, I'd like to hear your thoughts. So 1 or 2 or 4 of you raise your hand virtually and tell us why we even bothered to put this on the agenda. Didn't expect that, did you? So you're completely clueless as to why you're dedicating 90 minutes to this topic. Is that what I am deducing? Okay, well then let me lead you by the hand through this. Here's a few places I can think of where this can make a difference. And by the way, you missed an obvious clue from Claire at the beginning of this, because she's talking about the 100K competition. But
Bob, we should probably tell people to raise their hands if they want, to respond to a question you have, just in case that wasn't clear.
Well, if it wasn't clear, you're right. We should make it clear. Claire, do we know how to raise our hand? Is it obvious where that little goober is on the screen?
I think we all know how to raise the blue hand on Zoom, so everyone feel free, and I'll monitor that to see if anyone has questions, and we'll call on folks as hands are raised.
Thank you. And by the way, some of you are putting stuff in the chat, but if it's addressed at me, I just simply am incapable of tracking the chats while doing all of this. So you may as well save yourself the effort. So somewhere along the way, you're going to want to hire good people. Somewhere along the way, you may hit a bump in the road with your team, and you need to keep your staff motivated and focused. These are both instances where you've got to present your venture. You may one day want to have customers, one of my favorite topics. You may one day have somebody call you up and say, I can put you in every Walmart in the country. I'm not sure why I should do that. Let's talk. And of course, one day you may want to go out and raise capital. And if you succeed in all of these worthy endeavors, one day your phone might ring and somebody might say, I might want to talk with you about buying your business. These are all instances I can think of where if you have some facility at presenting your venture, it will stand you in good stead. So let's ask another question. You're going to be working in a constellation of a lot of people, customers, coworkers, investors, and more. And what do they actually invest in? And it's tempting to think, well, it's my big idea or my awesome product. But I can tell you that a good idea isn't the same as a good product. And I actually had a few offline chats in this past week with a few of you who were in our session last Tuesday. And you do have some pretty good ideas, but your work on products has a ways to go. And by the way, a good product isn't the same as a good business, because it might be an awesome product, but if it costs you more to make it than you can sell it for, you probably don't have a good business. So people want to work with promising businesses, a great team, skilled at actually doing what they say they're going to do, and they understand their business. And one of the ways people assess whether or not you understand your business is, can you describe it clearly and persuasively? So our agenda tonight is going to be a little bit fast and furious, but you're used to that by now. I'm going to ask you to give a couple of sample pitches for hiring a key employee and what do you do about staff morale. Then we'll ask ourselves, well, what did we learn from these pitches, and can we assemble a few guidelines? Then I'll ask you to give a few more pitches, this time to prospective customers. And once again, we'll ask ourselves, what did we learn? And maybe assemble some more guidelines. And then this may seem like a detour, but we're going to just bounce off the surface of the whole topic of sales. And the reason for that is because then we're going to go swim in the deep water and talk about how to pitch venture capitalists. And then we'll wrap it up and say goodnight.
Hey,
So,
Bob.
yes.
If I could interject, I'm being told on Zoom chat that Zoom recently updated and the raise hand feature might be in a different place for folks now. It might be under reactions rather than under the participants tab. So that may have been a source of confusion earlier. Just wanted to call that
I'm
out.
confused. It's already confused me. All right, so everybody got that? All right. You guys remember this from a week ago. I'm in the process, early stages of selling my fourth startup. I did some consulting. I turned around a messed up company. I had 3 previous medical companies. I had a couple normal jobs, went to school, and I'm a hell of a guitar player. Okay, time for you to use what Claire just told you how to do. I need a couple of brave volunteers, one at a time. Here's the scenario. You've gotten your business going. You've looked about, you've said, everybody on my team is technologically astute. And we have invented, I'll make this up, we have invented the equivalent of a Roomba, but it's for your vegetable garden. So we have a robot that will eat your weeds, but it won't eat your carrots. And everybody on my team is a roboticist. We don't have the slightest idea how to get this to market, but we've identified Claire, who has a robust background in these matters. She's very accomplished, but she is expensive. So you want to present to her the opportunity that your startup represents and do it in a way which is persuasive. So I'm going to sit for about 60 seconds while you think about the venture you have in mind for this business, and then I'll ask for a couple of volunteers. In fact, if you're in a hurry, volunteer now.
It looks like John Harold has volunteered. Thank you, John.
Okay, John, thank you. Take it away.
Hi. I just, I don't know. We'll give it a shot. So I guess I'm gonna talk to you, Claire. Claire, thank you so much for meeting with me. I know you've been doing a great job at Coca-Cola. You're an executive there, and it's really impressive what you've done there. But I think you can do a lot with Roomba here. We're a bunch of technologists. We've been working on this thing for a long time. My partner, Tony, he's his entire PhD on this, and we're coming together. But our real gap is in the marketing, and you have all this marketing in this one area. But I know that you can expand into something really big, and I know that we definitely need your help. But I think that you can grow to a place where you're working with something much bigger. And Roomba is going to be the biggest thing. It's going to be amazing, right? We're going to revolutionize the home garden, especially right here with COVID. Everyone's been getting into like home gardening, take care of the home, but there's the things that they don't like to do, right? And you know how to sell things that people want, and we really appreciate what you've done. But I would love for you to jump in with us, and we can't really compensate you like Coca-Cola does. But I think that if you get in now, you're going to be able to grow in such a way with our company that you'll never be able to with Coca-Cola. That's it.
Thank you, John. All right.
I really volunteered because they came up with a cool name for the company.
No, well done. I remember you from Tuesday night. You weighed in on a couple of things. So thanks for weighing in now. Here's a question that we could have asked before John got started, but it's relevant that most people never actually ask this question. So what questions do you think that Claire, as a senior marketing person, would have had before she met with John. And how well did he do in addressing those questions? So click the little raise your hand button and give me your thoughts, please.
Indriad, and please correct me if I pronounced your name incorrectly.
No, that was perfect. No worries. So I would have done the pitch a little bit different, where I would have been like, hey, Claire, do you like gardening? Would you love to have vegetables just in your backyard? If you do, then I've got this great idea, which, I want to scale up to all of the houses in our neighborhood.
Okay, I have to interrupt you because you're not answering the question I asked.
Okay.
I asked what's going through Claire's mind before this meeting, not what would have been a more effective pitch. You may well be on the track to a more effective pitch, but I want to begin at the end of the story, which is what are Claire's concerns and how do we address them up front? Is she thinking about how do I make a lot of money? Can she think, how on earth can I find a bunch of crazy roboticists and work with them? I mean, what is it that she has on her mind? And how well did John do in addressing those prospective concerns?
I mean, the culture fit, I think, would be a bit of a concern because while he did say that, there are a lot of people who know the problem, he didn't address how they would interface properly with her. So that might be a concern. But in terms of I think her biggest concern would be why should she give up her great paying job for something in the smaller firm?
Now you're talking.
And in that sense, while he does address some of it that, we expect to grow into this big thing and whatnot, he never explained how. So that would be a concern I would have.
In fairness, John, that was one of the best jobs I've ever heard at this early stage in my presentation. So nice going. I was not being facetious when I gave you a little round of applause. I thought it was excellent, because you addressed a couple of things that I would think a senior candidate would have in mind. One is, have you identified your market? Two, is it growing? Three, am I going to have any fun doing this thing? Am I needed? Will I make a difference? And I thought that you, in fact, wove answers. It could have been more polished, et cetera, but you wove answers to those questions into your talk. I think you also obliquely addressed the question of money, which I thought was well said, because if Claire's already made a pile of money and she's even talking to you, unless she's not nearly as sensible as we think she is, she knows she's not going to get paid Coca-Cola wages. So she's asking about something else. Can I make a difference? Will this be fun? Is there an opportunity to create wealth when all this is over through an exit event? And so there are a few questions in there that she's bound to have. Okay, thank you. Let's do another one. We'll need a different volunteer because, John, you're going to get spoiled if we let you do another one of these. Here's the scenario. Your little company that makes a Roomba for the vegetable garden has been running for about a year. You made your sales forecast. You made your promises to your investors. And because you had a hard time finding Claire to help you with the marketing, the customers are not buying. The sales are below forecast. You're running out of money. And when you come to work, your staff that used to have enough energy to light up a whole block in Manhattan seems a little disgruntled. So you call a staff meeting and you're going to talk to them. So take a couple seconds and let's have somebody volunteer. What will you say? How will you present your venture in a way that they find compelling? By the way, I'm on the advisory board of a company that's very similar to the one I'm describing. So none of this is fictitious.
Hi, Roa. Please go ahead and also keep me honest on pronunciation.
Yes, that's correct, actually.
Bravo.
Hi. Thanks for this opportunity, actually. I don't know how well I'm gonna do it, but I recently have a similar situation actually with my own club, so I don't know if it's gonna be okay to say this. Okay.
Listen, just be brave and jump in the pool. We'll
Like
pull
my
you out
heart
if
is
you start
beating really
drowning.
fast. Yeah. Okay. So hello everyone. Thank you for coming to this meeting. We have been experiencing a lot of difficulties lately, and I'm going to be honest with you guys because there's no point me trying to hide the fact that we are definitely running out of money. However, in the past year, we have done so much achievements. We have built a company, we have built a core team with highly technical people. We have recruited Claire, who is our amazing marketing head of the marketing, and she has been giving us so many advice, experiences, and have found so many sources for us to learn about how to be a better, how to sell our products better. We have had so much experiences, and we don't know how this company is going to be in the future, but I'm going to always be honest with you, and let's try our best to see how far we can go and see if you have fun. And if you needed to leave or any time in the future, please feel free to let me know. I'll try our best to help you maximize your learning throughout this whole experiences. And to learn about why we fail, or like why we are going to, how can we turn this around? Maybe we still have a chance to turn this around. Let's try our best and see what we can do.
Okay. Well, so let me ask you guys. Let's say you are part of the staff and you're sitting here and you are listening to the speech that you just got. What concerns did you have before she started talking? Right? Customers aren't buying, sales are below forecast, the company's running out of money. What concerns did you have, and how well did she do in addressing those concerns? Let me hear your thoughts, please.
Tumi, go ahead.
So as an employee, I've been working really, really hard, but I've got a family. I need some sort of stability and assurance that things are actually going to be different and not just from the words. So I'd be concerned about what's going to be different. Why should we be sticking around? And also, how honest is she being? And I think she touched on those 2 points quite well, that she was very upfront about the situation. She said things are going to be different, but not only did she say that, she gave examples of why things are going to be different, the actions that the company has taken. And I guess she was very upbeat.
Okay. Anyone else? I'll come back and comment in just a moment. Does anyone else want to weigh in with this? Okay, well then I will respond. Tumi, I think you nailed it. I have been in situations where the staff looks at the founder and they think to themselves, they might not actually say this because it would be politically awkward, but they find themselves thinking, for you, this is a mission. It's a calling. You're practically evangelical. For me, it's a little bit of that, but it's also a job. I have a family to feed. I have financial responsibilities. And I'm looking back on the past year wondering, did I make a bad decision? Have I signed up with an outfit that isn't going to go anywhere? And what I got from her talk was passion, honesty, candor. What I think I would have liked to hear would be something along the lines of, guys, we're a startup. We're doing something that's never been done before. And what comes with that is a lot of excitement, but also an absence of rules. We don't really know how solid our expectations are. We made a forecast based on our best guess. We missed it. But if anybody in the room has any doubts about the merit of the mission, we should have a longer conversation. If you're still excited about this, then hang in there, because we have to figure out how we're going to keep this thing running, and I have a couple of ideas. In fact, our new head of marketing also has a couple of ideas. Let's walk you through what brought us to this point, what we're doing going forward, how we're going to get a better result, and then let's talk about it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's extract a couple of guidelines. I think there's two main requirements to have a successful presentation. One is that the idea is appealing to the audience. And in the latter case, I think I picked an idea that would be appealing to the audience. You're wondering if you're going to be able to pay your mortgage next month. And a good fit would be an opportunity like we described for Claire to go into marketing. A bad fit would be if you're a healthcare executive and we're a SaaS company. That would be a square peg in a round hole. The idea's got to be appealing to the audience, and they have to believe you. They have to think that the way you're describing reality really is true, and they have to believe that you can do what you say you can do. That would suggest you should understand your audience. And too many presenters don't stop to think about this because it takes thought and it takes research. But ask yourself a fundamental question. Do they care more about you or do they care more about themselves? And by the way, if you get this question wrong, you may as well just exit the course now because you're doomed. All right, and so should your goal be to persuade them that you're really smart, that your technology is really awesome, that your vision's really compelling? Well, believe it or not, under some circumstances, the answer is yes, but only if it's a reason to believe. We're going to be really successful. You're going to have a great time. You're going to make a meaningful contribution, and here's why. We're all really smart. Our technology is awesome. Our vision is compelling. But you've got to talk about the benefits first and support that with a reason to believe. Let me highlight that. If people don't care about the benefits, then all this other stuff is just blather. You're wasting your time and theirs. And though they may not say it this bluntly, their first priority running through their mind is, how's this going to help me? The hell with you. How's this going to help me? So a few guidelines. Invest the time to understand what they want. Sometimes just ask them what they want and listen carefully. This is usually hard for impassioned company founders because they think what they have is so awesome that the benefits are obvious. They don't need to ask you, and they definitely don't need to listen. I know it's corny, but it helps if you actually care a little bit about their needs. I once pitched a company for diabetes, which I talked about a week ago, and the first check I got was from a venture capitalist whose sister had died from precisely, the condition that we were in business to prevent. So, and I actually had learned enough about it. I cared about his needs, and the pitch was completely believable. A sequence that I think is often effective is introduce yourself, ask them what they're looking for. So let's go back to the interview with Claire. Claire, you've had a big career at a big company. You've done very well. You've distinguished yourself. Why are you even talking to me? So rather than come into that interview guns blazing, ask her what you're looking for. And if she says, you know, if I have to sit in one more committee meeting where it takes 30 people to talk about the typeface on an ad, I'm going to kill myself. What I'm looking for is an outfit that's nimble enough to make decisions. Everybody's smart, and the commitment is to get things done rather than the politics. And then you can say, well, Claire, let me tell you about this opportunity we have. We're a small, nimble company. We can make decisions. We don't give a damn about politics. You see where I'm going here. Tell them why it's going to be great for them. Talk about the benefits. Provide a little support, which is a reason to believe. And then ask an open-ended question. How do you feel about this? And she says, I'm pretty excited. That's good news. Okay, a couple more guidelines. You want to be believable. What helps you to be believable. Here are a couple things that occur to me. One is you show conviction, enthusiasm, passion, but you stop short of being completely insane. You can provide some supporting evidence. We surveyed 1,000 customers. 900 of them pre-ordered the product. It didn't even exist. Well, that's pretty good supporting evidence. And then finally, I think brevity. If you can provide this stuff quickly and concisely, people will remember it. If it takes you 30 minutes, you've got a problem. And guidelines for brevity, because everybody's short on time: be clear, be brief, and shut up. Many company founders are so excited about what they're doing that they just can't stop themselves from talking. I think the really important question is, when they walk out the door, what do you want them to remember? So turn your computer off, put all your slides away, and ask yourself, what do you want them to say when they describe this to somebody else? So let's say that in the scenario we had where John pitched Claire, Claire goes off and has a cocktail with a friend. Her friend says, how was that conversation you had? What did he have to say? What do you want Claire to say in response to that question? I think this is crucial. Ask yourself what result you want from this pitch. What do you want them to say? And by the way, most people can't retain more than about 3 things. And those 3 things are the ones that are most relevant to them. He said, I'd really make a difference. I'd have a great time, and that there's a chance I could make a pile of money. So be ruthless in your editing. Okay, your turn once again. So if you volunteer to present for this, here's a couple of guidelines. Tell us a little bit about who you are, presumably the company founder, and who are we, at least briefly. And then we'll give you about 2 minutes. Tell us a little bit about what are you selling. So you might say, well, I'm the founder of a company that addresses lactose intolerance. There are probably 100 million people in the US who are lactose intolerant. And when they consume lactose, which is hard to avoid, they have dreadful symptoms. We found a way to address and change their microbiome through something that we spray on apples. And they like apples. So tell us, who are we? Are we people who own an orchard? Are we Stop and Shop, who carries your apples? Or are we, in fact, the end consumer? So what are you selling? Why should we care? And address our concerns. And for you guys in the audience, just like before, same guidelines: listen, and then let's try to figure out how well we did and what we can take away from this. So,
Sumanth, go ahead.
Good morning, guys. Thank you very much. My name is
uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Your audio is very quiet.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
I think that's a
Get
little better.
better.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sumant. I'm from Bangalore, India. I'm a founder of a company who sells LED lights. So my customers are going to be the shops that are going to be selling these lights to end customers. So they should care, because I am going to be giving them the products in such a low price where they're going to be able to sell it at such a low cost to end customers, so that they can make money and they have a better product than other products of the other bulbs that are available out there. So they have a much better product. They have a thing. They have a guarantee to it that it will work for that long, and then they will be interested in buying this product, because they will be 50% of the price that the other companies are giving them for. So that will be, and they're going to be, and their concerns are going to be that it might not run because of the branding issues, but since the product price is very low and since the product price is very low, the end customers are going to be taking a chance on this because they are going to have a lot of they can take a chance on this because the cost is very low and they'll have actually the customers are going to be coming back to the shops and buying even more because the quality is that good. Thank you.
Okay, so do we know what he's selling? Do we know why we should care? And do we in fact even know who we are? Let's have some answers to this, please.
Michael's hand is raised. Oh, Michael just put down his hand. Anyone else? John?
So it was a little, I feel like it was a little adjacent to what I was expecting from the pitch. You were talking more about what you would say in a theoretical conversation. And so you talked a little bit about, oh, we're going to sell the shops and they're going to make profit, but you didn't reinforce that with any kind of like, you didn't anchor it in something that we could really see or represent, or maybe I missed what the actual product you were having the shops resell. But I think it was, I think maybe focusing more on like the value, I guess, of, what the product is and the value proposition, maybe give some, I mean, I know this is an example, but maybe some fake numbers. But for me, it was really hard to like visualize. You said, oh, we're selling product and the shops to resell it and make a lot of money. But like, what does all that mean really when it comes down to it? Can you sell for 300%, 1,000% profit? Things like that would have made me feel maybe be able to put it somewhere in my brain better than just like these hand wavy words.
Well,
Right.
I agree. I think what was lacking was the reason to believe. I got something out of the benefits portion of it, which is we're going to sell it at a low price. They can sell it at a higher price. They'll make some money. But I've heard that before. Give me a reason to believe. Give me some particulars. All right. Anybody else care to try one of these pitches? I think this is critical, by the way, because as I said last week, if you don't have customers, all you have is a hobby. You don't have a business. So this is crucial. Do we have someone else? Thank you, by the way, Sumant. That was brave of you to go forward. Let's have someone else provide us with a pitch for a prospective customer.
Thank you for
Michael?
giving the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Hello, this is Michael speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi.
We can't hear you.
Hi.
Okay, now I can
Right
hear
now I hear crickets.
Hi. So the prospective customer is going to be human resource managers and hiring managers. And what we are selling is training programs to teach human resources managers and hiring managers to be more amenable and understanding of the need to hire people with disabilities or other veterans and other circumstances like that. And the way that we're going to do this is by selling training programs, but these training programs are going to be a little bit different than normal because instead of just watching a video, after you take your training program, we are going to provide you with an opportunity to call a call center and actually speak with trained volunteers who actually have lived experience with the various conditions and disabilities that these training programs are intending to encourage hiring managers to consider hiring. And the idea is to break the stigma by having an actual one-on-one interaction with a real person rather than just watching a video that lectures you to say you should hire these people. And that concludes my talk.
Okay, same questions. Do we know who we are, and do we know what Michael is selling, and do we know why we should care? Let's hear from a few of you.
Tarina?
Thanks. So I think I know who we are because you set the stage really well. I don't know if I know why we care, but I understand like the process and what he's selling and who we were. It just to me didn't feel like a full pitch. It just seemed more of like the background prior to the pitch.
Okay, I agree with that, and I'm going to add on to that in a minute. Thank you, Tarina. Anybody else want to weigh in before I offer a few well-chosen words? Okay, Michael, I think you found an unmet need. I think that you were in a bit of a hurry to talk about how you're going to do what you intend to do rather than address up front why your prospective customer will be better off if they listen to the remainder of your pitch. So just piggybacking onto what Tarina just said, I think if you said, human resources managers understand the merit and the importance of hiring people with disabilities, but they've been slow to actually do it. And honestly, a big part of it is because they're uncomfortable. They've never really talked with or worked with people who have disabilities. And the typical way of addressing that problem is to show them a video, and it's helpful, but it's not interactive and it doesn't truly break the ice. We have augmented that with the superior offering, which includes, of course, the video to set the stage, but then our special sauce is that we actually put them on the phone with people who have disabilities and let the human resources manager actually realize these folks are competent, capable, comfortable, easy to work with, and it helps the HR manager feel good about this and get off the dime and go out and successfully fulfill their requirements, which is to hire some of these folks. So I just made that up. I probably mangled your business proposition. But what I tried to do, as Tarina said, was kind of set the stage. Why should we care? Here's why we should care, rather than just here's what we do and place the burden on your audience to figure out what the benefit of that is. Okay, so my friends, what have we learned so far? I would say we've learned that different audiences, and we've now talked to a couple of them, may require different pitches. So examples, well, we tried to recruit a marketing executive. We had a chat with a somewhat demoralized staff, and we pitched a couple of different customers. But what's common across these is that in every case, what matters or should matter to you is that your topic matters to them. And you need to build that in up front. What matters or should matter to you is that they believe you. Now, there's an 8-letter word that everyone, especially my musician friends, just absolutely hates. Practice, right? I guarantee you that, in my case anyway, and possibly for you, I have to work very hard to make it look easy. If I've ever given a pitch that came across as smooth and relaxed and polished, I guarantee you I practiced my brains out before I ever delivered that pitch. These are new habits. It takes some time to retrain yourself. And here's a couple of things that I have found to be painful, but helpful. I have literally gone into an empty conference room, and sometimes I've even put pictures in the chairs. Once I made the mistake of including Kim Kardashian in one of those, and it was just, I couldn't do it. It was terrible. But I put pictures in the chairs, and I give my talk to an empty room, and I fire up the timer on my phone, and I track how long the whole thing's going to take. And if I get really brave, I actually record it and listen to it. And by the way, that's one of the most humbling experiences imaginable. The only thing worse than listening to yourself in audio is looking at yourself on video. Truly daunting, right? But if you want to get good at this stuff, you've got to practice. And the time you spend doing this will make a huge difference. So give your talk to an empty room, use a timer. If you're feeling really brave, record it, and see the first bullet on this page. Okay, I'm sticking to our agenda here, and I'm going to take what might seem to be a little bit of a sidebar. So, selling. This may be something new if you're a technical founder. And you may be thinking, I have to do sales? Gross. No way. So I think we all, to some extent, this is a Joe Hadzima phrase, we're victims of our own experience. I think we tend to have certain stereotypes in our head, like it or not. And when you think of salesperson, is this the kind of image that comes to mind? Well, I've been places in the world where if I say MIT, this is the kind of image that comes to mind, which is sort of dorky, really smart, no social skills. And forgive me, but my point of view is that neither one of those is quite accurate. And that in fact, selling is an essential skill. Once you actually get into the marketplace, I think this is one of those things that really helps differentiate you from the other smart people where you work. And in my opinion, learning to sell is like learning how to swim. It's not natural. It's not innate. It's terrifying, but it's learnable. Some people will always be better than others, but everyone can learn how to swim and everyone can learn how to sell. It takes certain techniques, and it takes that 8-letter word we all hate, practice, but you can do it. But there's a balancing act. I have been on the advisory board of companies that had a really cool product for a deep unmet need, literally a product for people who had cancer, and it would improve the efficacy of their therapy. Very motivated audience, et cetera. They could not get out of their office and go talk to the people they needed to talk to sell the product. And unless something miraculous occurs, the company's going to fail. The product won't fail. The product will succeed with somebody else. The company's going to fail because they're spending all of their time trying to analyze Google AdWords and Facebook ads and et cetera, rather than go out and actually learn how to sell. Go to a trade show, talk to an oncologist, and get them to recommend or prescribe the product. So they're analyzing where to go swimming rather than investing the effort to learn how to swim. You need both, but they're not the same. Remember that we're going to segue from this little module into talking to a venture capitalist. So indulge me and ride with me a little bit longer. There's some fundamentals that you really must know if you have to put that sales hat on. And one of them is, are you even talking to the right person? Are you talking to somebody who's interested, who cares, and who can make the decision? Are you talking to somebody who actually can write a check? Have you asked yourself, what do they care about? Let me give a quick example. I did an interim CEO job a few years ago for an outfit that was in the atrial ablation space. That's a corner of cardiology. And I stood in the OR wearing all the lead and watched while they actually ran a 6-foot catheter into this guy's heart. They're pretty intense. Well, the customer complex is pretty, it's a little murky because the person who's the beneficiary of the surgery is the patient who is not paying for it. The person who wanted the product this company sold was the cardiologist. He's not paying for it. Finally, you end up talking to the purchasing agent who's had at least a half a dozen courses in negotiation. He's the one who can write the check. So in order to do this properly, you have to know what the other person cares about all the way through that chain. The patient wouldn't mind living a bit longer. The cardiologist would love to enhance his reputation or her reputation as a star in the field. The purchasing agent wants to know, why will they make more money if they buy our stuff than if they don't? So you have to ask yourself, what does the other person care about? And then tell them how you're going to deliver that and give them a reason to believe. I find that nobody ever has enough information to make these decisions. If you've ever hired somebody, you don't know enough about them when you hire them. If you've ever taken a job, you don't know enough about the company when you take the job. if you've ever bought a product sight unseen, you don't know enough about it. There's a role here for trust. If you've built the trust, ask for the order. And by the way, follow-up is crucial. I will elaborate. We need to talk a little bit about qualifying, and a word that is magic in the world of sales. We pronounce it WIFM. I'll tell you what that stands for in a moment, if you haven't already figured it out. As you walk through the world of prospective customers, you will find that more people can say no than can say yes. And obviously, you should plow your way through the naysayers as quickly as possible, because they will eat up your time and they will stop your forward progress. So you have to qualify them to some extent. Excuse me. I'd like to talk to eventually to the person who can tell me yes and can write a check for this. Are you that person? Kind of blunt, but until you get an answer, okay. With them, what's in it for me? You should ask that question on behalf of everyone before you try and pitch to them, because they will be thinking. They may be polished, they may be sophisticated, they won't say it out loud, but they put it first, even if they don't say it. So addressing this, depending on who you're talking with, may require some finesse. Well, I'm watching the clock. We're going to skip the relevant example. So again, I keep hammering on this because I think it's incredibly important. If you say, we have a really cool device, it's kind of like a Roomba for your vegetable garden. It will eat your weeds. It won't eat your carrots. How do you feel about that? If they say, Bob, I don't have a garden. Stop right there. Next, right? If they don't care about the benefits, move on. There's absolutely no point in telling them how fabulous your Bluetooth connections are and all of that other stuff. So the flip side of that coin, and I see this a lot with technologically astute people, is they go way down the rat hole, talking about their artificial intelligence heuristics and the robust algorithms that they have created, et cetera. I would like you to tell me, why does that not work? Why are people suspicious of these overly technical explanations? So, somebody?
Luis?
Yes, thank you. It's Louis. Thank you very much, Claire. So my first take on that would be, according to the brevity, you know, when people try to over-explain, especially something as it pertains to coding, it's not tangible to them. So when you feel like somebody's over-explaining it to you, you feel like you're being sold, you feel like you need to check your pockets when that person walks out of the room, and you're just setting the wrong tone. It's more of a vibe.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's exactly right. Let me amplify on that a little bit. They probably suspect you're smarter than they are, which means you can smoke them in this matter if they're not careful. And the deeper you go down the technological rat hole, the more uncomfortable they're going to get because they're feeling smoked. So it's quite right. They're going to look to see, do they still have their watch? Did you steal their wallet? And give me the benefit. If I care about the benefit, give me a little bit of reason to believe, and then say, if you rely on a head of technology to process this, I'll be glad to get really nerdy with that person. But I can introduce you to half a dozen customers who will tell you how it improved their life, and they intend to buy 5 more of these. Okay, the more important the decision is, the more important trust is. So we should talk a minute about what builds trust and credibility. I think the most important answer here, I'm looking at the clock, if we are to be brief, is, will you do what you say you're going to do? It kind of is that simple. Do you do what you say you're going to do? And can I count on you in the future to do what you say you're going to do? And there are a number of dimensions to this. I will give you an example. I did a consulting project once upon a time for an outfit that made flavors. This is a corner of the food industry that most people have never encountered. But their clients call them up and say, I've got a cough syrup. It works great. It tastes absolutely god-awful, and no child will choke it down no matter how badly they're coughing. Can you make it taste like strawberries? The Flavor House goes to work, does the magic, and they produce cough syrup that tastes like strawberries. This Flavor House sold their flavors to, among other things, Pepsi. Big client, big orders, big business. Pepsi also bought ingredients from other people and applied the flavors. The Flavor House one day thought, geez, we know people who have ingredients. We could buy the ingredients for cheaps. We could put our flavors in it and sell flavored ingredients to Pepsi. Already done. They don't have to do the work. They don't have to invest the labor. And by the way, it even costs less than buying the two and putting them together. What a brilliant idea. So they all started, looking at boats that they could buy and all that so they could spend all the money they were going to make. And we said, well, why don't we call some people at Pepsi and ask them what they think? So we called the people at Pepsi. We got to the right people. We said, what do you think of this flavor shop? They said, oh, we love them. They're wonderful. They're just brilliant. They do a great job. Good. What do you think of this idea they've got of selling you ingredients that already have flavors in them? Would you do that? They say, no, absolutely not, under no circumstances. We said, well, that's a little counterintuitive. Explain that. And they said, well, we've been working for years with our ingredient suppliers, and we know that if we need them to deliver their stuff on Tuesday between 10 and 11 in the morning, take it to the bank. It will be there between 10 and 11. It will be exactly the right quantity. Quality assurance will be there. All the assays will be right. And it kind of boils down to we have a deep, trusting relationship. And if it costs us a few pennies more, we don't care. Okay, so anyway, trust becomes important. Okay, final tidbit. Ask for the order. If you get the sense that they like what you've got, ask them for the order. So Claire, if you're pretty excited about this opportunity, how soon would you like to start? Okay, so customers, if you love the idea of these apples that have this magic potion sprayed on, I've got 24 of them in the trunk of my car. I'll bring them in right now if you have your credit card handy. Classic sequence. This is salesmanship 101. How do you feel about this? That's an open-ended question, not do you like it, which is yes or no. How do you feel about this? Okay, that makes sense. So I say to a prospective athlete, I've got a 2.5 ounce drink made of just food ingredients. It'll help you sleep at night. It'll improve your recovery. It will improve your performance. How do you feel about that? You say, well, I mean, it sounds great. I've got a few food allergies. I want to make sure it doesn't interfere with that. And of course, all the science in the world doesn't matter to me. What I really care about is, will it work for me? So the right response is, well, that makes sense. So you're validating them. You're not trying to bowl them over. You're not trying to be slick. That makes sense. I hear you. So if I provided you with the ingredients list and you identified that there was nothing on there that would trigger your food allergies, would that help you feel more comfortable? And if I just provided you with a week's supply for free to check it out, how would you feel about all that? That's called a trial close. Okay, it's been a week. How'd you do? Well, I did what you asked me to do. Can I sign you up for getting 2 of these a month? That follow-up, I did what you asked me to do. You asked me to call you back in a week at 10 a.m. Here it is, 10 a.m. a week later. I'm your guy. What's going on? How do you feel about this? Can we do some business together? This is a topic that people write long books about. So forgive me if I've tried to summarize some highlights in like 5 slides. But you need to know that before we jump into the deep end of the pool. So just a few words about venture capital. And forgive me if I couldn't resist. Here's a few words. It's not for the faint of heart. Here's a few more words. Be careful what you ask for. In fact, here's a few more words. Abandon hope, all ye who enter. All right, so you have a brilliant idea and you're excited, big marketplace, you're a smart individual, and you figure, well, I need to raise some money. So how about if I just call a venture capitalist? Well, the fact is they get about 200 cold calls a week. That's about 40 a day. That's not going to work. Your call's going into the trash can. So after a few weeks of being rejected, you say, I have to know somebody, LinkedIn or whatever, that knows this venture capitalist. I'm going to call the venture capitalist's friend. And I'm going to ask him for an introduction. Well, the friend is going to be thinking, is this a good fit? They only do med tech and you're selling software. So it's not a good fit. Sorry. If it is a good fit, then they're going to think, they may not ask you this question, but they're going to think, the reason I'm this venture capitalist friend is because I don't send him any turkeys. I never send him a weenie. That's a technical term. Are you going to make me look bad? And if the answer is, yep, you're clueless, you're going to embarrass me, I'm not going to do it. If you pass through those filters, you will get an introduction. And that happens about twice a week. Far better route. So to prepare for this pitch, some of the questions that the prospective investor will have, and this ties directly to what I was saying before, what do they care about? Well, what kind of capital are you looking for? How much are you looking for? How far will it take you? And here's the big one. How am I going to make money from our investment in your business? That's the WIFM question. What's in it for me? How much money will I make? And how long will that take? And if you say, well, we're not going to be in the market for 7 years, and we'll have about a 10% margin when we go, you've automatically eliminated most venture capitalists. Be prepared to address some basic questions about your business. We talked about these on Tuesday. What's the unmet need? How big is the problem? What's the competition look like? Why are you better? Who are you going to get for your first customers? How are you going to find them? How are you going to let them know about your solution? How will you make money? Because it's easier for me to make money if you make money. I'm breathless. It's your turn. So let's have somebody step forward and provide us a pitch to a prospective venture capitalist. Let's say that last week my Aunt Millie died and left me $10 million, and I think I would like to invest it in some promising entrepreneurs. And I have the good fortune to be looking at a few hundred of them on this screen. Somebody here is going to make me some money. So who'd like to step forward and tell me why I should invest in your company? Claire, it looks like nobody wants my money.
Yeah, no hands raised so far. Oh, Justin, go ahead.
Thank you, Justin. I salute your courage.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes.
How much time do I have?
2 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. So we are a life science instrument company making high-resolution imaging systems for scientists in the universities and pharmaceutical companies. And the benefit of our instrument compared to, I guess, current approach. First, let me start. We focus on customers who are already using, I guess, the cutting-edge sequencing technologies, and we're trying to fill a rising unmet need, which is the current sequencing platforms are not able to generate results with single-cell level accuracy. So single cell means when we're doing current sequencing technologies, you need hundreds of cells to generate enough materials to feed those sequencers. Therefore, the result is actually an average of hundreds of cells. But as scientists trying to figure out, for example, in cancer environments, each cells, what they're doing, they actually need the level at the single cell level of accuracy. So that's where our solution comes in. And basically, we are able to generate the results with the cells in a glass slide. And by doing this, we're able to get the results with the single cell level of accuracy and basically fill this very important unmet need. So the amount of money, well, actually, so the market potential for this, I would say, are in the hundreds of millions of dollars to maybe a few $billion dollars. And the reference point would be the current genomic sequencer companies. One is called Illumina, and the second one is called 10x Genomics. Both of them are doing very successfully and have large multi-billion market caps. So we believe we can basically create and fill this unmet need. And to do this, we're going to need to commercialize a customer-friendly instrument, and that's going to probably require a few $1 million. So I think that's the amount of money we're looking for. Happy
All
to
right,
answer any
Justin,
question.
let me ring the time bell here. Thank you. So let's ask the audience. Do we know why we should care? Do we know what the opportunity is? Do we know how much money he wants? And let's have a couple of you guys answer this. How did he do?
Jan?
Yeah, Justin, I think you did very well. I know what the potential payout for us is. Sounds like about $1 billion. And I know how much I need to invest. I'd like to know the time horizon. I'd like to know how fast my money is going to be coming back to me as a venture capitalist. And I know who the client is, and you know, I feel pretty good about your idea. There's it sounds like you have two competitors on the market that are not quite able to do the technology as good as yours, which sounds about 100 times better than theirs.
Thank you. Thank you, Jan. I don't think we have time for anyone else to weigh in with comments. So Justin, I will echo Jan's remarks. I think if you had a few more attempts at this, you could polish it up a little bit, but I think you included most of the important elements. I think you could start by saying our target customer is using cutting edge sequencing technology, and they have a common frustration, which is that the stuff just doesn't work with less than 100 cells, which gives you an average across the 100 cells. And they are craving a technology that will give them accurate results with a single cell. We have that technology. And then you could build from there. Now you've got a problem statement, you've got a benefit statement, and if your prospective audience says, well, gosh, we only work in home and gardens, well, then you're done, right? So Nice job. Thank you. Okay, a couple words about pitch decks. Most entrepreneurs overload their decks with too much stuff, too technical, too much jargon. And I believe it was Michael who gave us an eloquent answer as to why explanations that are too technical don't work. The best decks describe the problem and the opportunity in the first slide or two, which Justin was kind of the counsel I was just giving you. Describe the problem and the opportunity up front. What's the unmet need? How are you meeting it? And here's a URL that will show you some startup pitch decks and help you, well, what you can learn from some that have been quite successful. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have learned that the two words every audience most likes to hear from their speaker are "in conclusion," and we're about to get there. You have an opportunity to ask me any last questions before I give you a summary slide and hand this over to the remainder of the team. So, any last questions before we go?
Hyrule?
Okay. Sorry, we have one?
Hyrule, go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is that, like, before you go to like probably actually angel investor, that's my question. Before I don't know if this is the right question to ask, but before you go to angel investors, are they looking for the same thing as venture capitalists, or what are they looking for basically?
I think you would be well advised to hold that question until Julianne Zimmerman runs her talk. The short answer is no, probably not. What they have in common is that they all want to make money, but they have different risk profiles, different size requirements. And I could elaborate, having raised money from both sources. But you'll have a presenter coming up in a day or two who will speak with authority there. So thanks for your question. Okay, here's a quick summary, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to have to make, if you're going to succeed in this brave world, you're going to have to make a lot of presentations to a lot of different audiences, customers, employees, partners, investors, and more. And they're not one size fits all. The kind of thing you talk about with one audience will probably be a complete flop with another. But in every case, you should ask yourself, why will they be better off if they do what I'm asking them to do than if they don't? Not why will I be better off? Not will they think my idea is awesome and I'm a genius? Why will they be better off? Crucial point. Two of the most important components are they want what you're presenting and they believe you. And if you do that well and have a little luck, you will capture lightning in a bottle. You will be very successful. You will be fulfilled. You'll have a great time. Good luck to you, and thank you very much. And so, Joe, back to you, my friend.
Thank you. This is where we all clap, I think. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
You know, your point about practice is so true. I've seen you work hard at these things. The same presentation, it comes out better every time, and it shows when you can have someone explain something to you and then you turn it around in a way that it's sort of like they slap their head and say, boy, that makes a lot more sense than the way I said it. And you know nothing about it other than the 3 sentences they told you. So, part of that's a natural gift, but I think your practice shows through quite well. So thank you
so
much for that.
You're welcome.
Good.